with another video. You know something? I did two videos and I'm actually proud of myself. I did two videos and I actually feel pretty good. Um, I started off with a gaming video, but the gaming video didn't last, namely because, I've already did two videos for that day and I'm upload them to a different channel. This channel, I really want to be laid back, relaxed. I want this to be more of a safe haven, a cove. I don't want this to be any kind of high tension drama, whatever, any heated debate type stuff, you know. But I want this to be something different than, the other channel. So, um, but you know what? Just checking in for the live broadcast. Blacked out video. My future videos, I'm probably gonna make it not be blacked out. I'm not exactly sure, but one step at a time. Um, I'm trying to make sure, I'm trying to fashion things that can work properly. You know what I'm saying? My day was pretty eventful. I will say that. My day was actually pretty decent. Um, because whenever I, post, whenever I stream, I truly do feel it's me being myself. And I love that feeling. I really do, man. Like it's in my bones to be that way. Like it does help me to feel better about myself, you know? Because one of the things that I've dealt with when it comes to, just living life, it really boils down to, doing something that makes me happy. I don't think that I've ever truly experienced, complete happiness, which is a hard thing to say. Have you ever just had that feeling? Maybe you've never had that feeling to where you don't know what it means to be happy. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know what it truly means to be happy. I don't say like it's hard for me to say that I've ever, really been happy. And it's not an easy thing for me to say, but it's just, the reality of the situation. Like everything when it comes to my life has been up in the air, and it's never, what I'm saying, been a life that has been completely mine. So, I'm taking stuff one day at a time, and I want things to be better. And today, today's stuff was better. It was up to all who are watching, you know? Um, and I think a lot of people probably could feel this way, you know? I'm not sure. Maybe you feel this way when it comes to your life at certain points. But I know I do feel this kind of way when it comes to my life. So, but I wish to be whatever I do. I wish to be, what I'm saying, excel, be creative at it. I think a lot of people, for life reasons, they don't, um, achieve what they're after, which is kind of unsettling. I mean, can you imagine trying very hard to stabilize yourself and have a life that makes you happy, but you just take, two steps forward and three steps back? You know how frustrating that can be? You know, it feels like you're on a hamster wheel. It really does. And, you have people who are nowadays doomers. What do they say that? They call that stuff the black pill, which is, what I'm saying, playoff words, um, doomer type stuff. And people feel like, there's no hope when it comes to trying. Like you're never be going to fail when it comes to you trying. I don't think this to be the case. You know, I just don't think it to be the case. My one friend Spike, he talks about how, I have too much pie in the sky type of mindset. Oh, well, you're just saying that because you're looking at everything as the glass is half full and not half empty. Very nihilistic. My friend Spike is very nihilistic. For anybody who doesn't know what nihilism is, it basically is just, somebody who looks at life as pointless, because they figure that you live, you die, and that's just all there is when it comes to living life. But I don't want to feel that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't ever want to take the mentality of just give up, you know? Um, and truth be told, I think to a large degree, whenever a guy talks like that, it usually does trace back to money because money gives you options. I'm talking about with every guy, even me. You know, whenever you hear any man or any guy talk about nihilism or the whole giving up type stuff or it's over, that's usually someone who is struggling with their finances. You know, everything is expensive nowadays. And I do think that's where a lot of stuff comes from, you know? Um, but don't give up, don't lose heart, don't allow yourself to be, you know what I'm saying, taken away by your individual problems because you can be better. Hey, what's up, LeBron? Welcome, welcome, welcome. You know? And what's so funny is I wish to actually make this world better like that. You know, like I feel like there's way too much casual depression. You know what I'm saying? You ever just look around you and see how many people are just depressed? Like that bad self is a depressing thing. You know what? I'm happy that you're around. I truly am. You know, like, cause I think that I think that we need to normalize being happy as opposed to being miserable. I mean, look, man, I know what it means to be miserable. I know what it means to fall short. Like in the words of Thanos, I know what it means to fail. And I don't want that to be the sum total of my life. Because think about it. You get one life. Do you really want to live that life unhappy? You know? I mean, look, I understand that when it comes to, you know, certain things, it's beyond your control. But every single day you make a decision on how you're going to, you know what I'm saying, feel about your life. Since you can't make this world better, but you can help God make it better. Exactly. Exactly. I truly do believe that, you know? I think that God works through people to make this world better. I think that's to be perfectly honest. I think when it comes to just, you know, how people act, you know, God works through people to make this world better. The opposition works through people to make the world worse. I think that's why life breaks down to the two different lands to where you have people who, you know, they will wallow to negativity. Not to say that the reasons aren't legitimate. Let's be perfectly clear. But I think that negativity truly becomes addicting. You know, like it's very easy to just give up, you know, because when you try so long and you try hard to be able to, you know, achieve what you're after, eventually you just feel like, you know, what's the point? And that's where nihilism comes along. That's where you hear those subtle whispers of, you know, you can't make it, why try this and that. But you don't have to give in to that. Like you truly don't. For anybody who's listening, definitely feel free to subscribe. You know, whenever I broadcast, you're most definitely free to join. I'm going to try to normalize positive sentiment every single day. Every solution has a price tag. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And, you know, I think that if we just have a society, because here's the thing, you ever just notice when it comes to people who live a simple life that they can be happy not having everything? And think about that. Why is it that some people can be content not having everything, but yet people who have everything just want more and more and more and more, and they're just never satisfied? So, to a certain degree, happiness really does come down to your mindset. It comes down to your mindset. It comes down to, you know, what you're trying to, you know, like if you're trying to reach for happiness itself, it's like you should make decisions that, you know what I'm saying, lead you in that direction. And that's what I've done when it comes to me, you know. I wish to make this more of a casual, normal thing. Like I said, my friend Spike, he's consistently dealing in negativity, you know what I'm saying? But one thing I can't say is that I can't throw him under the bus because I understand why he feels the way that he does. I'm just saying that I'm not going to allow that to become my story when it comes to how I feel, you know? Um, because I just I can't bring myself to just allow to just be addicted to negativity because we only get one life. Now, here's the thing: if we had multiple lives, then yeah, it's like you could spend your life the same way you would in a video game because you're just going to respawn and everything will be okay. But the whole idea of having one life and then living that life and feeling miserable and wishing that it was, saying cut short, I really don't want to be like that. So yes, people who are greedy are not smart about money. People who are good at money are not good at being greedy. Yeah, because greed is a bottomless pit. It just goes on forever and ever and ever and ever. Because another thing also is that greed will always compare itself against the next person rather than count its own wins. Greed looks at what somebody else does and says, hey, why do they have more than me? And then you just get into this vicious cycle of trying to achieve more and more, even if you don't need it. Like you're driven by competition, and competition can be healthy, but when it becomes an obsession, that's like time to talk to a doctor, you know, because basically you've internalized greed and you'll never be content. I mean, can you imagine not being happy unless you can jump out the window and fly like a bird? You would never be happy because it's something that you physically can't do because there's always something wrong in the day, no matter what. That's how I feel. Every single day brings its own problems. So if you are consumed with the idea of that day falling off short, then basically you'll never be happy. Like it's a form of self sabotage because, like, you're setting yourself up to you know, reach for the impossible. Like you're reaching for something that's not even there. It's an illusion, a mirage. It's something that you have set in your mind that you can achieve, even though, like what you're looking at it's not possible. It's like it's physically not possible, you know? And the only thing it does is it makes you frustrated. It's like saying, "Hey, man, I want to win the lottery. The lottery is, a lot of money, and I wish to win the lottery. If I don't win the lottery, I'm going to be depressed." You could very well be depressed for the rest of your life because it's a good chance that you'll never win the lottery. So I think the expectations of these things begin to bring misery because there's always something wrong with the day, no matter what, you know? Um, but I'm gonna lay down for right now. I'm gonna let this video cap off at 13 minutes. Definitely, what I'm saying. Feel free to subscribe, Laban. I'm happy that you've joined, and I will definitely see you later. You know what I'm saying? It was good talking to you. And definitely feel free to, give your input when it comes to the subject, because I like to talk to people about different subjects. And if you wish to join, definitely feel free to join. All right, well, I'll talk to you later. Peace.